Good evening. Welcome to Hucknall in Nottingham. It's me, John O'Bullard, with this week's British Hockey Chat. Welcome along. Thanks to everyone who sent questions in as usual. As usual, I will lay out the rules. Chat box is there if you want to add any questions as we go on or comment on anything that we talk about. Or you can pop questions in on Twitter at John O'Bullard. I am monitoring that as well. So, welcome along. I hope you are all well and looking forward to some robust discussion. All I can ask as a favour is if you please just retweet this out. That would be a great help. So, if you have the link on Twitter or follow me on Twitter, if you could please retweet what I've just tweeted with the link on and get as many people in here to join in. So, we will kick off in a second. We've got quite a few questions, lots of general ones, a few Panthers ones as usual, just to give you a clue of what the setup of this evening will be like. But the first question comes from Panthers Banter, at Panthers Banter on Twitter. So many people know him and who he is. And his question is regarding coaches. And he says, does having a background as a player or involvement within the Elite League or UK hockey before becoming a coach here benefit, have any effect on success here? I can only think of Aaron Fox's Challenge Cup win and Chuck Webber's playoff win as an example of where a coach from outside the Elite League has won a trophy. I know a lot of clubs recruit from within anyway, so it can skew the averages somewhat, but coaches from outside seem to struggle in general, in my opinion. It's a really, really good question. And I think over the years, coaches who certainly come in brand new to the league, who've never been here as a player, they do tend to struggle a bit, I think. I think it's a really fair question. You mentioned Chuck Webber as the playoff, you mentioned Chuck Webber who got the playoff win, but I think that was in his second season, so at least he had some experience of the league. Aaron Fox's Challenge Cup win with Sheffield was the first season, and you didn't mention it in your original question, but I know we've talked about it since, was Ben Simon, who won the league title with Sheffield in his first season. So, yeah, it does seem to be that new coaches coming in do struggle. I suppose you've only got to look at Skaldeck at Cardiff. Okay, they've got to the Challenge Cup final. There's still a playoffs to win, but I don't think Cardiff are going to win the league this season. I think that is between Belfast and Sheffield, with I think Belfast being heavy favourites for that one, to be perfectly honest. So I think the reason for it is the Elite League, compared to other leagues, it is quite unique because it is a big mixture of North American and European hockey. You've got rinks that are different sizes and different dimensions, so you can't really get any consistency there. And I think coaches come in and I think they have to get used to it. And I think the atmosphere is very different to North America. It's not as good as some places in Europe, but from my experience of going to watch games in North America, the atmosphere at rinks here is far, far better. So I think that's something that to get used to. I it's a really, really strange one. But I think if coaches do stay here, they then become more au fait with how things are, and they tend to become more successful. But I can't off the top of my head think of a coach who's come here brand new, having not played here, and then gone on to be a massive success. If you look at the coaches who are in the league at the minute, you've got Skaldeck, Cardiff, sorry, and Aaron Fox, who had Sheffield, who had no links with the league prior. Apart from that, I think that's it. I think everybody else has got coaches who played here before, who had associations with the league before they became head coaches of their respective clubs. So I think it is a huge advantage of knowing the league, knowing how it works, and I think that coaches from outside do struggle. Because I think it does take some getting used to. I think we've seen it with netminders, new netminders coming to the league. They tend to struggle first off, and then sort of find their feet. I remember Craig Kowalski when he first started in Nottingham. It took him a couple of months to get into the groove, as it were. So I think it is a really, really good question, and I think there's a lot of merit to it. So I think that you're right. Having a background and involvement within the Elite League or UK hockey does have a benefit to becoming successful here. If you look at the most successful coaches that we've ever had in this country, as with Corey Nielsen was a player first for 2 seasons before he became coach, and then was incredibly successful. Mike Blaisdell was a player here before he was successful as a coach. Paul Thompson, we all know the success that he's had in this league. Andrew Lord at Cardiff, loads of success, but was a player first. So I think there's a lot of merit to that, a lot of merit to the fact that having some involvement or being a player here first does have an advantage on coaching here. So, yeah, great question and a really good one to think about. Let's have a look at the comments. Good evening, Hotshot, from Lions commentary and social media team, which is growing more and more by the day. That is. Adam, is Malcom Cameron the most quotable coach in the Elite League? Something on that coming up later. Stay tuned. Chris Lovell, my good mate. Is it a mindset thing? As British league setups are unique in hockey, every game matters, whereas elsewhere you can drop 5, 6, 7 games and it's not a massive worry. Great point. Yeah, because obviously another thing here is the regular season title is the one that you go for, not the playoff title. So there's a big difference there as well. So yeah, that's a great point, Chris. Anthony Russell, I've done Maple Leafs game. It's a mecca of hockey, and I've had better atmosphere here for games. NHL rinks are like Premier League grounds, lots of corporate stuff. Yes. Or take me back to Germany with wooden benches and sparklers in the stands as the team skate out. Yeah, I've been to a few games in Germany. The atmosphere is unbelievable. If you can ever get over to Germany for a game, I highly recommend it because it's brilliant. Next question from Chris P at Chansu92 on Twitter. He says, with a number of Great Britain players injured, what is the squad likely to look like for the Worlds? And I think probably the news of Ollie Betteridge's injury has probably sparked this question. Panthers are saying he's week to week, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think Liam Kirk is out. Liam Kirk won't make it. I'm pretty sure Brendan Connolly won't make it either. But I think you've got the likes of Scott Conway who can come in from Belfast, for example. So will be a very, very good addition. I think the squad will likely not change too much with the exception of Liam Kirk, who obviously won't be in there, and Brendan Connolly, who won't be in there. But I don't think it's going to look too much different to probably last year, apart from those two. I would expect Ollie Betteridge's injury to be not that serious. I know he's having an MRI scan, so that will say more. But if that comes back okay, then I can't see any reason why Ollie Betteridge wouldn't be in the squad. What does Matty Carrollton, would Farmer play since he's playing in Whitley Bay? Has he been playing recently, though? Because I've sort of looked on the elite prospects trying to follow, and it's not changed since the start of the season. I don't think he's been playing in Whitley Bay for the past few months. And I think he's a policeman now, or he's certainly trained to be a police officer. I think that would restrict him. I don't think he's played, and I think his job would restrict him from playing. So I think that's a non-starter. Steve Lee might miss it too. Yeah, did Steve Lee miss the last one though? I'm pretty sure. So yeah, Steve Lee will definitely miss it. Hi, Charlotte. He's not been playing recently. If you think I look at their game sheets everywhere, I don't remember seeing his name. me and Simon Kitchen to dust the skates off. Well, I wasn't even good enough for NIHL 2, so I'm certainly not going to be good enough for Great Britain. Nice thought, though. Next question comes from Chris Lovell after that comment. He says, given the Challenge Cup is unarguably more difficult to win than the playoffs, is there an argument to be made that the Continental Cup should be awarded to the winners of the Challenge Cup rather than the playoffs? For me, the argument that the playoffs are more prestigious doesn't hold water. Yes, in other countries, the playoffs are more prestigious. In the UK, it's a 4 games and you've won. We've had more grueling preseason tournaments, for goodness sake. I can sort of see where you're coming from, Chris, and being a Belfast fan and Belfast having just won the Continental Cup, I can certainly see where you're coming from. But you're right in that the playoffs is just 4 games to win the 4 games to win the playoffs, and it's a trophy, and you get the Continental Cup berth. But if you think about the Challenge Cup, the qualifying system that we had this season was a farce, where we played so many games to get rid of one team. The Belfast Giants were never, ever going to miss out on the quarter-final spot. So looking at it that way, Belfast won. Well, they had a 2-leg quarter-final, 1 game of which they lost, don't forget, against Coventry, a 1-legged semi-final, and then a 1. So essentially, Belfast only really won 4 competitive games to win the Challenge Cup this season, which is exactly the same as the playoffs. I think the farcical way in which the Challenge Cup group stages are run makes it a bit of a farcical competition. Not the knockout stages, and I don't want to take anything away from Belfast's victory because it was a game worthy of any final. It was a brilliant, brilliant game. But the group system needs looking at badly for next season because it was an absolute farce this season. And the thing is, the playoffs is always going to be the more prestigious trophy. Like it or not, despite the fact that it is only 4 games, it is still a far more prestigious trophy. So, yeah, in that respect, I would still go for the playoff winners rather than the Challenge Cup winners. Now, obviously, if you have the same team that wins the league and the playoffs, then yes, that it should go to the Challenge Cup winners. If a team takes all 3 trophies, then I think it should go to the runners-up in the league because that is the tougher competition over 54 games. And also, you could argue, and this is clutching at straws a little bit, but you could argue that the regular season is a 54-game qualifying league for the playoffs. So, if you want to look at it that way, but at this moment, no, I think playoffs is definitely the most prestigious tournament, and therefore the Continental Cup berth should go to the playoff winners. Is the way I see it. Okay, let's go back to the comments. Bring back the British Bulldog, Jason Hewitt. I mean, he's been scoring points for fun in the National League, but has he got it there? Has he got it still for Great Britain? Oh, he said you was joking about Huey. Kieran Brown could be worth taking if there's a spot. I'd agree. I mean, I'm a big admirer of Kieran Brown. Always have been throughout his career, and he's played at all levels of Great Britain, so he's used to that pressure of tournament hockey. Scored, was it 50 goals in the National League this season? It's whether he can make that step up to the senior team. I think if Pete Russell is looking to take maybe 1 or 2, maybe even 3 National League players with him, I think Kieran Brown has got to be in with a shout, almost certainly. Anthony Russell says, and Alex Graham, if you're taking anyone, that's another good shout. And Alex Graham has also had an elite league experience on the two-way with Sheffield this season, so that's probably someone else who Pete Russell may be looking at. So Chris saying he took out Blair Riley and Chris Higgins last time he skated. That's why they were always injured. Mark Rackham, I hope Jordan Cowney at least gets an audition in Coventry against Denmark. Yeah, he's been doing well, hasn't he? So I think that's another fair shout. Another fair shout. Jamie Bartholomew, evening, Jamie. With the non-arena teams' attendances decreasing, only 800 in Fife and 1,000 in Manchester, for example, is the Elite League now becoming unsustainable for non-arena teams? That's slightly unfair towards Manchester, because this weekend was their worst attendances for a long, long time. They've grown their attendances massively since the new year, and I think the fact that they had 2 home games this weekend didn't help. But Manchester, big game against Fife coming up on Saturday, and then 2 home games coming up against Sheffield on the following Wednesday and Sunday. So I think they will have big crowds for those. I don't think it's unsustainable for non-arena teams, but we should say I think Fife is a worry, because I think somebody told me that they only had 1,000. Only had an attendance above 1,000 once since the turn of the year, which isn't good for them. Isn't good at all. So the Fife has got to be a worry, but I think everyone else is doing. I think Dundee's attendances are up. Manchester's attendances are certainly up, and then everybody else is around the same. I think Belfast and Nottingham's are down from pre-COVID. Sheffield's are up, but then everybody else is around the same, I think. But that I did have a quick sort of cursory glance at what the attendances were doing, but nothing too in depth. Chris, arguably one of the best games of the season for Manchester last Sunday. What a game. Yeah, incredible game. 5-1 down at the end of the second period, brought it back to 5-5, and then lost it in overtime. But yeah, great game. Great game to commentate on. Absolutely phenomenal game to commentate on. Hopefully, the next 3 that I mentioned against Fife and 2 against Sheffield are just as good to commentate on. And I've got to pay tribute to my co-comms, Zach Sullivan, because his knowledge and insight on the game is fantastic. So to be able to throw to someone who can talk like that and give an insight like that makes my job so much easier. Belfast attendances can be affected by the rugby on Friday nights, or at least I think that's actually, Matty, I think you've got a fair point there, because Northern Ireland Premier League football isn't the greatest attended or the greatest quality, let's be honest. But we all know that Ulster pull in big crowds. So I think you actually make a fair point there. Jamie, Alex Graham got a hat-trick at MK last Saturday. Basically got Sheffield a point off his back. Yeah, I think he has that ability, doesn't he? He certainly does have that ability. Okay, let's move on. David Houghton is the next question. And he says, what do you think the league will do if ticket sales don't improve? Or do you think they are hoping the fans that make the playoffs will rush and buy tickets? I think a lot of people are waiting until the last minute. A lot of hotels haven't been cancelled. I think that's another fair point, David. I'm pretty sure that there's only been 2,000 tickets sold for the playoff finals weekend, which is, well, if that is the case, that is disastrous for the Elite League, let's be honest. Because normally they'd be pretty much sold out by now. And the fact they're not, and the fact that there's an awful lot of tickets available has got to be a big, big worry. I think they've got to hope, and I'm sure they're praying, that Panthers and Steelers make that Final Four weekend. Because I think if that happens, there'll be a lot of Panthers and Steelers fans who will just bite the bullet and say, come on, let's go. I think they made a massive, massive error, a huge error in not having concession tickets because it completely prices families out of going unless you've got a an awful lot of money and disposable income. So you won't be getting many families there. Um, I, I, th- I, th- but I think you know, the elite league will probably deserve it if that's what happens because they've set the ticket prices too high and not made any concessions for families. So at the end of the day, you reap what you sow, and I still think they're absolutely ridiculous prices. David Houghton says, "What do you think the league will do if ticket sales don't improve, or do you think they are hoping that the fans that make the playoffs will rush and buy tickets?" I think that's a possibility. I think a lot of people are waiting until the last minute. A lot. Oh no, I've just said that one, haven't I? Idiot. God, it's all right. I got mixed up with another playoff question. That comes from Adam, who's been on. He says, if the Panthers at least make playoff finals weekend, do you think this will help people have a little more faith in the club, or do you think it's too late? Also, do you think it will convince fans to buy playoff tickets, or it's still a price issue? Well, I think I've covered that second part of the question, Adam. I think a few will, but I still think it's a price issue. Will Panthers fans have more faith in the club? A few might, but I think a lot's happened this season. It's been nowhere near good enough, nowhere near, and a lot of people are walking away. Um, I, d- I suppose we'll have to see one if Panthers do make it to the playoff finals weekend, and number two, I can't see. It then depends how many buy tickets. So I think we'll only really know the answer to that question if Panthers make the weekend and at that first game. I mean, I've already booked myself other work for that weekend, so I definitely won't be going now. But I guess we have to wait and see. It's so much of a wait and see. Will they have to do do anything for price wise? I can't see how they can now because they've been selling tickets at full price. £115. So those people who bought £115, if there's reductions or day tickets in entries or concession tickets, there's going to be a lot of angry people who bought tickets without any shadow of a doubt. Just have a look at the comments. I wonder if Alex Graham would have gotten a chance in the OHL. Would have been a lock. Would be a lock if he'd have gotten a chance in the OHL this season. We also have Kirky's game improved and rounded out after just one season. Very true. Chris, I'm sorry, but the league bought this on themselves. They moved the final after people had booked hotels and travel, then rubbed salt in the wounds to increase the cost substantially. Moronic. Jamie Bartholomew, many people would prefer to go to the National League weekend, much more competitive and realistic pricing. It is a very, very good price, 55 quid for the weekend for a full price ticket for 4 competitive games of hockey. Might be massively awkward if Solway versus Streatham ends up with more attending than the EIHL third, fourth game. Solway versus Streatham should be a full house in the Sky Dome for that game, frankly, because that will be a cracker. Glenn, can't see more than 3,500 to 4,000 max unless Steelers and Panthers make it. Jono is okay if Panthers decline continues. He can finally come out of the closet and admit he's a Storm fan. Oh, do go away. Glenn again, or maybe the league will save day tickets so at least the final day looks busy. I suppose that's a possibility that they could make that decision on the weekend itself or just before. They do have the facilities to partial refund if they were to lower the price. Yeah, they do. But, it's work. They've got to pay someone to do that and do the refunds. And also it's an admission that they failed and that they made a mistake. So far, they're holding firm, but stranger things have happened. I would be very surprised if the price of the ticket changes between now and the tournament itself. I can't see that happening. Right, let's crack on. Craig Bond. Do you think Panthers need a new direction with a coach that has the power to get the players and possibly be the GM? As well, it will just be one person and not two, so we'll save on people being employed. It works at other clubs. Does work at other clubs, but with no disrespect to them, smaller clubs, and it's a lot to take on. For a club the size of Nottingham Panthers, I think having a coach and GM combined is too big a job. I think they need to be two separate jobs. And I get what you're saying about a new direction. I think things will change over the summer. I will be, and not that I know anything, and I don't, but I'll be surprised if Guy Doucette is still in position for the start of next season. As far as a coach goes, who knows? I really, really don't know. But I do think it needs to be two separate positions of a GM and a head coach. It's too big. It's too big a club, too big a job to have somebody combining them both. David Stevenson, given the gap between Panthers and the top three, realistically, how many seasons of rebuilding do you feel it could be to make Panthers contenders? With Panthers potentially needing a 75% turnover in imports, I would say more than that, but that's me. And most title-winning sides being built around a core of returning players, I feel it unlikely to see a quick turnaround to make us challengers. Also, appreciate the investment needs to be available, which appears to be doubtful. Good question. I've been doing something on the side where I've looked at the last 5 seasons. So from 27-18, including the Elite Series and this season, and I've compared Panthers' results against the Giants, the Steelers, and the Devils, who essentially are the 3 teams that we need to be competing with and beating in order to win a league title or to win silverware. The most astonishing stat from the work that I did within that is that Panthers have played 46 games away from home against those teams in the last 5 seasons. They have 5 regulation wins out of those 46 games. So let that sink in a minute. Panthers have won 5 games in regulation time away from home against Giants, Steelers, and Devils combined in the past 5 seasons. That's not a team that is challenging or being to challenge. That is simply not good enough by any stretch of the imagination. You can't compete, not in the slightest bit compete. So therefore, there has to be a complete step change for me. I've said I think Neil Black needs to sell, and I think there needs fresh ideas and a fresh ownership with a fresh outlook. Whether that'll happen or not, I'm doubtful myself, but I can dream. And the thing is, I think we're going to get what you say. There's going to be a massive turnover of imports each season. Brits are going to get fed up and move away, bringing in new Brits or potentially less experienced Brit, and it's just going to go on a downward spiral until something changes or something has to give. And I like what you say at the end of your question, David. That you appreciate that the investment needs to be available, which appears to be doubtful, and I would totally agree with that. And that is the issue we face. We are just not competing with the teams that we should be competing and beating in order to win a league title. We're not even anywhere close to it. So we can't expect to challenge for a league title. While that is happening, we just can't. The league title at the moment is going to be between Belfast, Sheffield, and Cardiff for the next foreseeable few seasons, unless something drastic changes in Nottingham, and that's the reality. Because the result, it's not just a knee jerk from this season. That's comparing results from 5 seasons, so that's going back a bit. And it's just not good enough. 5 regulation wins away from home. 5 against those 3 teams. So that averages out at 1 a season against those 3 teams combined. Come on. It's just nowhere near good enough. Matty says, if they sell day tickets, but that's Granta fans are in knots. If the Panthers Steelers don't make the final 2, then there's no point. I think that's a good point, Matty. Adam, I believe Guy will be GM for next season and they'll scrap the director of hockey position. Possible. Who does the recruitment, though? Because, let's face it, Guy Doucet's recruitment this season has not been up to scratch. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Chris says, do you see any serious change or improvement within the Panthers while it remains under Black's ownership? Outsiders' view here is it seems more resources and effort is going to Clan. I would agree with all of that. I don't see any serious change, as I've just explained in my answer to David. Daniel Knowles, he says, do you find yourself jealous of Sheffield as an organisation currently? Spent many years hating them, and that will never change, but they appear to be doing so much right at the moment, entirely the polar opposite to Panthers. I must admit, I find myself quite envious of the way they are run, and that was before some of the Tony Smith content this week. Don't agree with everything he has said, but at least he is visible. Good point, Daniel. And Daniel is a Panthers fan. Jealous of Sheffield as an organisation. I'm certainly envious. I'm envious of the way they're run. I'm envious of the crowds they're getting. I'm envious of the way that they market. I'm envious of the way that they appear to be very successful off the ice at the minute. On the ice, though, what they won? Seriously, what have they won? They've won 1 Challenge Cup in the last 5 seasons. It's hardly... And I think Sheffield do a brilliant job of portraying, that they are so much better than that. To look at the way they carry themselves and they talk about it, you would think they won every single trophy every year, no question. But the reality is very different, and that's a great job of their marketing. Look at the way they're bringing crowds in. I think they're averaging well over 6,000 a game. That's phenomenal. That really is some going, especially in these sort of post-COVID times as well. I think the best thing that happened to that club was Tony Smith coming in to own them, because for the probably one of the very few or one of the very first times they had a legitimate owner, a legitimate businessman who actually made things better for them. I remember very clearly Dave Sims saying when Tony Smith took over as an owner, that was the last chance saloon for them. So, that's... so I've just seen Chris's comment. So, yeah, he said that was the last chance saloon. What Tony Smith has done is just built and built and built and created a superbly run organisation. I don't think anybody can argue with that. And yeah, I'm incredibly envious of that. When you sort of see the way that the Panthers are plodding along and not really even competing with that. I think on the ice, though, yes, they win pretty much most of their games against us, which is annoying. Saturday accepted, which was very nice. But as regards trophies, they've not won a great deal recently. So in that respect, no, I'm not jealous of the on ice success, because they've not really had that much, to be fair. Off ice, though, incredibly envious because it's such a well-run organisation. Next question, 2 more to go. From @Ashley941300. If you could take one import and one Brit from the Elite League, who would you take and why? Very easy. Scott Conway and JJ Pickenich. Best 2 imports in the Elite League. Pickenich is the best import in the Elite League this season by a stretch. Conway, best Brit in the Elite League by a stretch. They play on the line together with David Goodwin, best line in the Elite League by a stretch. Belfast, best team in the Elite League by a stretch. So there you go. Quite simple. Scott Conway and JJ Pickenich, 2 brilliant players. So there's nobody else in consideration. If I had to consider someone else on input wise, probably Adam Brady from Manchester, who is a very, very good import forward. But not enough not even close to being enough for me to consider him ahead of JJ Pickenich. But okay, final question, and I'll come back to the comments after. He says, and it's from EIHL Polls at EIHL Polls on Twitter, who says, which is your favourite Malcom Cameron quote? We've had some corkers from the Glasgow Clan head coach recently, nearly said Brad. We had some corkers from him, haven't we? The one about kissing your sister, I wasn't so sure about, but the one about kicking the dog until it explodes was quite a funny one. The thing is, I love things like that. I love characters. Malcom Cameron is clearly a character, and what he's done, he's got people talking, and people are talking about his quotes, and it creates a buzz, and that's great. I really like that. I really like. We've lost a lot of characters over the past few years. So to see someone come in like Malcom Cameron and just light it up a little bit and come out with this ridiculous stuff, but it gets people talking, it gets people laughing, and it's fun. It's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I really like it. I think it would have to be the kicking the dog quote that I like, because having a sister, the kissing your sister one was just a bit. We'll leave that one. Right. So if anyone has any more questions, I'll go to the comments. But if anyone has any more questions, pop them on Twitter at Johnny Buller, or pop them in the chat box. Just say I've had something from Chris, who posed the GB question. Chris P on Twitter. He says Farmer has played 3 times for Whitley. From the last World, no Lee Mosey. Yes, because Evan Mosey's got injured, hasn't he? I don't know how serious that is. But Steve Lee didn't play the last World Championships. He played in the first one for Great Britain, but he didn't play in last year's, because I think he wanted to take a break from hockey. So he didn't actually go to that one. Okay, let's have a look at the comments. Since Corey Nielsen left, have Nottingham head coach appointments been poor and not matched the quality of Nielsen? I thought Rich Chernomaz was a good appointment, and I think he was unfairly sacked. I think he should have been given more time, a lot more time. And I think Tim Wallace was a decent coach as well, and I think he was made the scapegoat this season. But I know Milton Keynes have benefited from Panthers sacking Tim Wallace. Daniel Knowles, he says it's a fair point on the ice stuff regarding Sheffield. Hadn't realised they'd only managed 1 trophy. Daniel, again, my question was very much about the off-ice side of things. I guess everything they do off-ice makes the on-ice lack of trophies more bearable. The key is they are often in the title race to the wire. Yes, they compete. There's no question that Sheffield compete for everything. Most sensible fans don't demand we win trophies. We just like to be at the business end of the season. Absolutely agree. You can't demand to win trophies, but I think it shouldn't be an unrealistic expectation of Nottingham Panthers fans to expect Nottingham Panthers to compete for every bit of silverware. And currently we're not, and haven't been for a while. Adam, RP89, he says, the problem is Panthers have shown a few times this season that they are a fantastic team when things go right for most of the game. The issue is that they will give it up in the last period. I think fantastic team is pushing it a bit far, Adam. They're not a fantastic team. They can be a good team. I thought they were good on Saturday night. Sheffield were better. Sheffield are a better team. But I think what Panthers did really well on Saturday was close Sheffield down at every opportunity and just didn't give them any time on the puck. I will put Saturday down to very, very good coaching. That was a well coached win on Saturday night. But I think fantastic team is a little off the mark, in my opinion. I don't think they've been a fantastic team. They've had some good performances, no doubt. But I think fantastic team is pushing it a little bit purely from my point of view. I appreciate that your opinion is probably very different to mine. Chris Lovell, are the elitely consistent in banning club officials? Skolday live on Premier against the Giants in the league, questioning the league's integrity, and nothing was done. Cameron banned for post-game comments. Danny Stewart, didn't Danny Stewart get a one-game ban recently as well? Yeah, for that fracas in Sheffield, didn't he? The Skolday thing, though, it wasn't that he was interviewed live, was it? It was just something he mouthed that got picked up. It's a very tricky subject. You're going into a bit of a grey area there, I think. Okay, any more questions before I finish? Should be back to the usual Tuesday night next week. So any questions that you have in the meantime, please do pop them on Twitter. Send me a direct message. And I will add them to the list for next Tuesday. Also, don't forget that this will be available as a podcast very shortly after I've stopped the stream here. I have remembered to press record this week, so that should be available in the next half an hour or so on all good podcast platforms. Any commentary from you coming our way? Chris says, yeah, I'm commentating on Storm against Fife this Saturday, Storm against Steelers next Wednesday, and Storm against Steelers again a week on Sunday, and then Storm against Cardiff the following Saturday. So plenty of Storm commentaries coming up. So yeah, manchesterstorm.tv for their webcasts. If you want to hear me dribble on. I'm sure you don't, but it's there. Anthony Russell, after 11 years of doing my nonsense, will anyone be brave enough to give me a live mic? Yeah, but Anthony, I would consider what you do every Wednesday being a live mic because you do it live just like this. So there we go. Right, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you ever so much for watching as usual, or listening if you listen to this afterwards on the podcast. Thanks to everyone who sent questions. And that's an interesting. If Panthers were to offer you a commentator position, would you give it up for the Storm? I would doubt very much Panthers would offer me a commentary position. They've already got a commentator, and I'm very happy doing the Storm one at the minute. I really enjoy it and hope to do a lot more next season as well. So, right, I am going to toodle off. Thank you very much. Have a great week, everyone. Enjoy your hockey this weekend wherever you watch it, and I will speak to you again hopefully on Tuesday. Until then, take care and bye-bye.